here we go. We've got our dynamic component. It's sitting in the middle of the screen, but it doesn't really do anything. So I want to give it a border radius. And yeah, we'll use the var border radius. And here we'll do our border dash radius, and 0.6 rem seems to work pretty good. So our dynamic host component doesn't really do anything yet. So let's get it to do something for us, right? Not init yet. I am getting away from using constructors to do our DI, so we'll just completely remove the constructor because we don't need it. We aren't really doing any DI yet anyway. But our dynamic host component needs to do something. So we're going to start with, how do we want to do this? We will do an ngComponentOutlet, and we will set this equal to our observable. So within here, what we can do is let's just have a protected, we'll do a protected component, and this will be an observable of type. For right now, we'll just say it's of type unknown. We'll fix this eventually. And for right now, no, we want this to be a subject. And our type will be unknown. And we'll import that. And this will, well, you know what? We don't even need to type this now. We can just say it is a new subject of type unknown. So right here, we can say that this takes component, and there we go. It's complaining because it's saying subject key is not, oh yeah, it needs to be of type unknown. And we need to import type, which comes from Angular core. But again, it's saying that it's not assignable to any or null. So the next thing we need to do is we can use the async pipe or the ngrx push pipe. I like the ngrx push pipe, so we're going to break out of here and we're going to do npm install, and we are going to add the, let me make sure I add the right thing. So if we grab ngrx component, so let me bring this over so you guys can see it. We're in the ngrx platform. Well, actually, we can just go to ngrx.io. It's probably the better way to do it. And within the docs, inside of here, is it developer tools? Nope. This is the one we want. So we want ngrx component. ngrx component adds two things. It adds the ngrx push pipe and the let directive, which are two things that I really like. I like to use the push pipe over the async pipe. We could very easily use the async pipe here. But yeah. And Rain All Day Long says dynamic components and component store. You're directly dealing with a bunch of stuff I'm trying to research right now. Hey, that's awesome. We will be adding component store, but right now we're just using the ngrx component specifically for the push pipe. And I've talked about this a couple of times in the past, but the push pipe is an amazing pipe. You should definitely take a look at it. It has some very good some very good benefits over just the async pipe. And I wouldn't be surprised if Angular decides to steal the idea of the push pipe and turn the async pipe into something like the push pipe. But we need to install that. And so we're just going to, well, I like showing this off. npm add at ngrx/component. So now we can do ngrx push, and it already picked that up. We're going to import it from the push module. They recently broke that out for tree shaking. That was a really good change. And so now we've got our component outlet with an ngrx push. Why did we do that? Well, let's go into the component itself. We'll add some buttons. So here, we'll just add a div. And in this div, oh, well, that's cool. We're going to add a button. Our click is going to be add component 1. And we'll just say add component 1. So we'll get this working, and then we'll get the other ones working too, right? So we don't have add component 1. One thing I want to do is just make sure that this is a type button. And in our class, we're just going to add component 1. And so we're going to start simple here and then build up. So the very, very simplest way to get dynamic components onto a page is to use this ngComponentOutlet and then feed an observable to it. One thing I should do, and I'm curious why ESLint isn't picking this up, but I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, I know why it's not picking it up. Because I don't have the RxJS stuff in there. So protected, read only, and here we'll make component equal to this dot component dot as observable. And there are a couple of reasons to do that. It doesn't like this dot component. Why doesn't it like this? Oh, because it needs a $sign. There we go. So there are a couple of things we're doing here. We're making our subject private because we only want the dynamic host component to be able to, do a next or anything with our subject. However, we need to get the observable. So we're making our component read only, so it can't be reassigned. Well, technically it can, but if you do it in TypeScript, then it won't allow you to do it. And then we're grabbing the observable from there. We're also taking advantage of some recent changes to Angular to where if this doesn't need to be public, we're not going to make it public. So we're going to make our component protected, and we can do that because it's only used in the template for this component. So we don't have to worry about it. So at this point, what we want to do is load component 1. And it becomes really, really easy. Yep, we'll just do this dot component dot next. And this is where things get interesting. We can just do from, and we'll import that. And the reason we need to do from is that we're going to use the import statement. And the import statement is, it's just an ECMAScript import. So we're going to import from /component1/component1.ts. And we need to return the component. So if we do our component, then we can do component.component1 component. And that is a fun name. And It doesn't like this. Why doesn't it like this? Is not assignable to type unknown. Well, we're going to have to do something about that. So what we can do is we can do type, and we'll do dynamic components equals. So we'll do component one, our component one component, or it can be our component two component, or it can be our component three component. There we go. So there's our new type. And within here, now, rather than saying this is type any, or type unknown, we can just say this is type of, and our dynamic components, right? And it still doesn't like it. What doesn't it like here? Oh, I'm trying to, let's do this. We don't need to make it an observable. And I'm a little bit ahead of myself, I think. So here, within this, we don't need the type here yet. We'll do this eventually, but I think, nope. Well, then we don't next it. Instead, we set component to be of type components, or dynamic components, and we're going to remove our type of. I'm trying to remember how this one works. So there's our type, and then it can be, component can be that or null. And I think this needs to be an observable. Well, we'll start with this. We'll do observable this. I know we need to use from to do this. And here we'll just use never for the first one. So it's never going to emit. And then in here, what we're going to do is we're going to say that this dot component, and let's make this protected. Just for a little bit of safety. And this will equal from, and here we'll import from RxJS, and we will move this into here. And there we go. Everything is good. Everything should compile at this point. So let's do our serve. And once this compiles, we'll refresh and we will take a look at the network tab. got a whole bunch of stuff. Let's just put this all on one browser. We will need that eventually. So it failed to compile. Undefined is not assignable to type any or null. It's not undefined. Prime. All right. So now that should compile. Do I need the ngrx push here? Let's see what happens if I do that. I do need that. Well, that's fun. It'll work with the async pipe, but not with... Interesting. Well, there's one case where the ngRx component pipe doesn't work. So now if we add component 1, it injects it, right? So let's go look at our network. And let's clear our network. Well, let's just refresh. So if we look on the side over here, you'll see that we've just loaded our very, very basic stuff. And we would expect that our component would probably be here in our main.js. So if we add our component 1 here, notice that until we actually press the button, we're not loading anything.